Now, another thing that cross-sex friends do is they discuss their feelings and their attractions, but they decide together not to act on it. Okay? Wow, you know, yeah, you're right. And the other night I was really drawn to you. I was really drawn to you. We shouldn't do this. Okay? And then now we'll talk about this. You can plug that into a variety of narratives, but for the moment I'm going to say this is a narrative of cross-sex friendship, gang. So the other person says, well, gosh, I thought it felt that way, so I'm glad you've told me. Come on, we're too good of friends to go there. Let's not go there. So it's talked about, right? It's acknowledged. It's named. You know, okay, yeah, this is the way it's going to be. Now, and then of course, there's the notion of cross-sex friends acknowledging and exploring their romantic feelings, their sexual attraction for each other, and there's a few things that can happen, gang. I mean, it can change the definition of the relationship, okay? We were friends, okay? We decided to date, or whatever the term is now. Is that the term now? Yes. Is it?
I think so.
Okay, I'd like to stay current. You know, changes the definition of relationship. Again, I'm going to come back to this. These formerly cross-sex friends may become romantically involved. It might be fantastic, okay? People can say they were meant for each other, and we'll come back to that, because I'm not disacknowledging that. The thing that I want people to understand is, what we're talking about here, folks, is the possibility of friendship between one half of humanity and the other half. Okay? I'm a friendship guy. I'm also a romantic guy. I like romance. This is a good thing. But I'm a champion for friendship here. Okay? Okay? So what happens is, sometimes people, they change the definition of a relationship. They become lovers. All right? Okay? Now, sometimes that doesn't work out. And then they go back to being friends, like Dave Matthews says, right? Go back to being friends. Okay? And it's okay. Okay? Because one of the things that I'm going to want to talk about in terms of friendship is, you know, friendship is a kind of relationship where people accept each other. So it didn't work. We're still friends. Okay. I'm glad we got that out of our system, or, you know. Now, but also, folks, it can ruin the friendship. Okay? A lot of people, it really, really hurts to have, and this is where, you know, I'm making purchases on some other discourses that I'm going to want to mess with here in a few minutes. But what we're doing is we're trying to make it something more, or thinking like, I will be able to romance you beyond friendship. And then it doesn't work out. Some people can't live with that, because they're suddenly in that romantic trajectory that failed. And then, you know what, that cheesy song from the 70s, I love you too much to ever start liking you. It's too bad. We've taken the bait, and now we can't be friends. You know, I'm someone who, you know, you don't love me, so I can't be friends with you. Now, we could genderize that. I'm not going to. Okay, I've done enough gendered comparisons. And then, okay, we incorporate sex into the relationship. Friendship with benefits. Gang, I got news for you. I know that, you know, there's a new film out with that name, of course. There's that whole series of episodes on MTV's Real Life, Friendship with Benefits. What else? Is there a regular show on now called that? Because I don't watch TV. Is there? Yes? No? Okay, well, we'll come back to that. What I want to say, gang, is when I first started studying this in 1982, talking with college students, researching cross-sex friendship, okay? People said to me that if we're friends and we become romantically involved, we have sex, it changes the definition of the relationship. We don't experience it as friendship anymore. Okay? That's in the early 80s. Then I started to hear things like physical friendship. Okay, okay, we're friends, but we're also physical with each other. Then, I don't know if you know this, perhaps you do, Alanis Morissette, right? Head Over Feet, 1995, this multi-platinum album called Jagged Little Pill. She says, "You're the best listener I've ever met. You're my best friend with benefits." It's the first time I heard that discourse, gang. Maybe you can track it. Maybe it showed up in popular parlance before that, but that's when I saw it. What's interesting to me about that is she celebrating a secure romantic relationship, okay, with someone who's a good listener as well as a romantic partner? Or is she talking about sex as an added benefit in a relationship with friends? Okay, well, that other thing, friendship with benefits, you know, is there anybody in this room who has not heard that phrase? Okay. Okay, we've all heard the phrase that. Over the years, when I've done these debates, the students have said to me that friendship with benefits is used to both support the possibility of cross-sex friendship and to prove the impossibility of it. It's utterly ambiguous, gang. I mean, on the one hand, we could argue, you know, and friends will say, we're friends and sex is just one of the activities we do together. We're good friends, and we have sex, okay? Now, before we get, you know, gang, among the age group I'm working with here, it's one of the most rapidly increasing age groups with HIV virus, okay? So maybe there's some sense to the notion of if, instead of going out there and trying to, in my book I discuss, and I'm not going to talk about it right now, hooking up, I'm not going to go there right now. It's a completely different issue. Friendship with benefits is someone you trust, someone who cares about you. So there's arguments that can be made to say this is a way that friendship in this day and age has altered in some ways the definition, and it's still viewed as an edifying alternative. But there's other students who say, a lot of them will argue and say, friendship with benefits, you know, just proves that men and women can't just be friends. Let's keep going. Third parties and social conditions is the third main theme, gang, and what we're talking about here is that third parties and social conditions facilitate cross-sex friendships versus they subvert cross-sex friendships. I'm going to try to move through these a little quicker. We could say here that they're more culturally accepted now. In some ways, that's why I said, you know, maybe for a lot of you people, some of the younger people here, many of the younger people here, I know you hang out in groups a lot now, cross-sex groups. It may be that this whole lecture is passé, okay? That it's not really the issue that I'm portraying it to be, and I'm willing to hear that from you. Okay, so, but what I want to say here, gang, as we open up this issue of third parties is cross-sex friendship. People not only have to negotiate between each other what is the definition of this relationship, they have to orchestrate other people's perceptions of the relationship. Okay? I just had a former student of mine direct a master's thesis where what this woman found out is the better other people know the two people in a cross-sex friendship, the less likely they are to attribute anything to that relationship other than what the people know it to be. But the less people know, two really close men and women spend a lot of time together, they map onto them romantic and other sorts of scripts. Okay? So the argument is it's now culturally accepted. We've got co-ed sports, we've got student organizations, we've got work, gang. The first article I ever saw on cross-sex friendship in 1975, Booth and Hess said, this will become more possible, one, to the extent that norms change, and two, the more that men and women are together. And with the workforce changes that have happened in the last 20, 30 years, it's absolutely silly to not be able to send my two best people to go what I need them to do, regardless of sex, regardless of their gender or sex. Okay? We can't be mapping these kinds of innuendos on the people that work closely together. Okay? So, now, in terms of media, gang, Friends, Seinfeld, Grey's Anatomy, can you all tell me right now what shows are on television where cross-sex friendship is a primary figure?
How I Met Your Mother.
What's that?
How I Met Your Mother.
How I Met Your Mother. They cross-sex friends in that. What else?
Suburgatory.
What's that?
Suburgatory.
What?
Suburgatory.
Okay. Well, I'm not aware of these. I'm not a big watcher of TV shows, but that's what it goes. Okay. People argue it's possible in families, gang. It's possible in age-discrepant relationships. It's possible between gays and straights. All right? So, brothers and sisters, cross-sex friends, brothers and sisters-in-law, cousins, uncles, aunts. There's all kinds of places where people are cross-sex friends. All right? If either friend has a romantic partner. See, gang, we're starting to realize that one thing I want to point out, that once people have a mature understanding of friendship, which is usually by young adulthood, most friendships break up over things outside of the relationship rather than what happens between people. Okay. So, in this case, the fact that our cross-sex friend has a romantic partner is a reason not to suspect that we're anything other than friends. And the fact of that matter is the students would tell me each friend has to respect, that their friend's partner. Has to respect that. Don't make them jealous. That's taboo. That's just not that's not the way to live in friendship with someone, to make their partner jealous. But they also say this, gang. They say if their cross-sex friend, that person's partner gets jealous or says, hey, what's up here? I don't want you spending time with that person. A lot of them will argue that is when they need to assert the importance of the friendship. They'll say, listen, this person's my friend, been my friend since 3rd grade. If you can't accept this person, we can't have a relationship. You're not going to disqualify a friend of mine. But again, notice we're having to respond to third parties, people outside of the relationship. Couple friendships. I mean, in many cases, the adult unit of friendship is a couple, okay? People, and in couple friendships, and I'm talking here, and the students were talking about men and women who are couples, friends with other men and women. There's not a problem here. People are friends with their partner's friends. And finally, that a social condition that facilitates cross-sex friendship is when it's not a freestanding relationship. Okay? In other words, it's part of work. It's part of some other situation. That protects the relationship. Now, what I think is interesting, folks, is that the very same conditions that the students present to argue for the possibility of cross-sex friendship are cited by the other students as subverting cross-sex friendship. Okay? So they say, despite superficial changes, they're still suspect. Really close man and a woman hanging around all the time, going out to the bars together, okay? They're suspect, okay? They say people assume a couple is a couple, okay? They're not two friends, they're a with. They said they're just not the norm. They're still not the norm, and this is something we can discuss. And they also say, we talk about the show Friends, 6 Friends, didn't 2/3 of them end up pairing off? Yes, I know Phoebe did. I saw the Smelly Cat episode, that's the only one I saw. So Phoebe didn't pair off. Who are the 4 friends that paired off?
Monica, Chandler, Rachel, Ross.
Thanks very much. Okay, we got that covered. All right, Amber, you nailed that. Got a Friends fan. Who isn't? Okay. And then they say that, but well, I'll let that be for now. They say that relatives and other friends will pressure cross-sex friends to become a couple. Bring a cross-sex friend home from college. Okay, folks say, who's that? Oh, this is Sheila, she's my friend. Oh, she's your friend. Come on. Okay. So relatives and other friends pressure people to become a couple. And then they say that work, couple, and family friendships aren't truly freestanding bonds. All right? I mean, they're relationships that are very dependent upon the other relationships to exist at all. So they're not that proud of them. They say that a lot of times spouses will drift away from the cross-sex friends that they chose on their own before they got married. Okay? In fact, the biggest drop-off, not in friends, period, but certainly in cross-sex friends in the life course, is in young adulthood when people get married. Great drop-off in friends, great drop-off in cross-sex friends. Now, we could discuss, recent, social networking sites that keep people in touch with each other to the extent those are, sustained part of your life. Friends, well, I mean, that's another whole issue. And they say that romantic partners are jealous of cross-sex friends, and cross-sex friends are jealous of romantic partners. So jealousy is a big issue. They also say that their same-sex friends will get jealous. Like, what are you doing spending so much time with her? What about us? Or you say, why are you always with that guy? Why aren't you coming out with us? Okay, so jealousy, it's interesting because, there's a lot of affection in friendship, any friendship, and certainly in very close friendships. Sometimes people get jealous of other people's time or involvements, all right? And so that argument is presented. At this point, gang, I want to just say some things to you about friendship in general. The first thing I want to say is, friendship is voluntary, okay? You choose to be someone's friend, and they choose you. You choose them as a friend, they choose you as a friend. And one of the reasons why I've been so fascinated by friendship now, going on, 30-some years, is that people remain friends to the extent that they fulfill each other's expectation of that relationship. You can't make someone be a friend. No one can make you be a friend with someone else. Okay? You can't make people be friends. People choose to be friends. All right? Now, but that's also part of the vulnerability of friendship. Think about friendship compared with marriage, for example. Okay? Marriage is a religious bond for many people. It's also a legal bond. You don't just walk away from a marriage. You're still married unless you get a divorce or you get the marriage, also need to get the marriage dissolved. You're still married. Okay? Partnerships, and I don't mean a more generic term now, I'm talking about legal partnerships where people go into a partnership together and have a business. You are partners until you're no longer partners. My father had a partner when they weren't partners anymore, that they shared a medical office, they had to take all these steps to dissolve the partnership. Okay? Think about family members, gang. You're never not somebody's daughter, somebody's sister, somebody's brother. You're never, you could think of this ridiculously, and I think it's not even thinkable to me, the idea of disowning someone or something like that. But the fact of the matter is you're always someone's kin. Now notice, that's why friendship so many times, falls through the cracks in terms of when people have to do, well, I've got my responsibilities to family, I've got my work responsibilities, I don't have time for my friends. Okay? Friendship is vulnerable because it's based on choice. Now, friends do understand that's part of the edifying core of friendship. I realize you couldn't be there. I know you've got a lot on you. Friends do that for each other. But it's a vulnerable relationship. Very, what I call highly susceptible to circumstances. Okay? So, I mean, add to just a basic notion of friendship the complications of masculinities and femininities, okay? Sexual identities, okay? And also the relationship between romance and friendship, which is the issues I'm going to be closing here with in just a couple minutes. What I want to say is this, gang. I think freedom lives at the heart of friendship. And in some ways, our abilities to engage in friendship could be seen as a measure of how much freedom we have in our lives to decide what I want to do with my time, who I want to care about and spend time with. Okay? It could be seen as a measure of freedom. So, a couple final points here. I'm sure many of you noticed this. I mean, when I start talking about the issue of cross-sex friendship, there's some people telling me, that's what? That's not a problem. What's the issue? Okay? You know, this is a heterosexualist drama, all the hubbub about cross-sex friendship. You know, it builds upon a naturalized binary division between genders, okay? And it's based on biological sex differences. Think about it, gang. All of the different attributes we have, ethnicities, you know, age, you know, certain talents, certain qualities as people, interests, you know, avocations, vocations, and we choose this small selection of body parts to divide humanity into two classes of people. Okay? When there's all these other attributes that we could be, you know, you're friends with a woman? What? You know, I'm also friends with a Cub fan, you know. I mean, I'm also friends with, you know, a Billy Joel fan. You know what I'm saying? You know, it happens sometimes. Anyway, I'm actually not. Okay, let's continue. He's written some good songs. Okay, and then there's this notion of an assumed heterosexual orientation that rejects other sexual identities. It maps, okay, it maps heterosexual scripts on the relationships. Okay, this is what this friendship is about. Get mapped right on there. And then, this is what I think is pretty interesting too, in terms of a broader, and it's a normative, this is a normative account, and we can deconstruct it in a lot of ways, but I'm working right now in a fairly normative arena, and it goes like this. Heterosexism privileges heterosexual romance and marriage over friendship and other forms of loving. Okay? Okay? Marriage is the be-all and end-all of relationships. Okay? And so what we have then is this whole myth of, or this whole discourse of converting the friendship into something more. Okay? What's more than friendship? I mean, I've talked with people, and I mentioned this to our students. I've talked with people. I talked with a woman 100 years old, and I talked to women across the life cycle who said, "My life would be worth living without my friends." Okay, I mean, what is more than friendship? Okay, we could say these are different options. Okay, but why this hierarchy? Okay, convert the friendship into something more. So, my final point relates to this notion of the comparative significance of friendship and romantic love. And so we've got a heteronormative hierarchy of relationships. Okay? It's like, I want to convert this relationship into something more. Romantic involvement. Are you serious about each other? Are you committed? Maybe we'll get married. Marriage is also highly governed, as we know. Very, very serious issue in the United States. Okay? Deciding who can be married and who can't. Here's who can get married. Here's who can have a family. There's a hierarchy here. And friendship plays second fiddle in that. I've thought it was very interesting. Have any of you seen anyone married yet where the husband has a maid of honor, or the wife has a best man. You guys have? All right. So maybe times are changing. Anyone else? You have? Okay. So that's interesting and actually encouraging. There's this one Valentine's Day, gang. I'm interviewed a lot on Valentine's Day. You know, it's for a lot of people, it's one of the loneliest days of the year. It's a big time lonely day because if you don't have, you know, if you don't have a sweetheart, however you want to say it, okay, you're on out on Valentine's Day. Now, do we have a friendship day? Other than something maybe invented by Hallmark to get some more cards out there. Do we have a friendship day? I mean, think about that. A day to celebrate friendship. I'm just saying it's a relationship that doesn't play into a lot of the narratives that we're talking about here. So there's a narrative march to marriage and the couple companionate ideal. And I don't think we have an analogous narrative that has the same kind of cultural force, and certainly one that doesn't comprehend friendship between men and women. Okay. You know, it's kind of interesting though. The couple companionate ideal, this notion of we marry someone and that person is our everything. Okay. You know, lover, co-parent if we have children. You know, if we're lucky, friends, serve all of each other's needs. It puts a lot of pressure on marriage. Okay. And then these sort of naturalized discourses. I think it's so interesting when people start to say it's natural that people would want to become something more than friendship. Here's what I want to ask you. What is unnatural about friendship? Huh? Thank you very much. If I heard you right. The last thing I would say, which it may sound interesting to you at this point, because I've very much been celebrating the possibility of friendship on its own terms between males and females. But one thing I would say that's actually sort of, to me, a delightful irony is that cross-sex friendship is a really good basis for a love relationship, a romantic love relationship. People who are cross-sex friends and become lovers are nicer to each other if it doesn't work out, okay? You do the dance of the scorpions. I'll be wrapped around your finger, finger. You'll be wrapped around my finger. You know, it's like this dance of the scorpions. I'm not calling her. You call me. You know, it's like, this withholding commitment until someone's got their neck in the noose, you know. But cross-sex friends, sometimes when they become, romantic, they're nicer to each other. And then the other thing, I will tell you in another book I've written on friendship, where I look at marriage across the long term, I theorize marriage as also involving cross-sex friendship, okay? And same-sex friendship if we're talking about marriage between people of the same sex. Now, the one other thing I want to say is this. The thing about friendship that I find so interesting, and part of, I think it's so intriguing about friendship, is it can be a freestanding relationship, but it also can be a dimension of other relationships. I think that's part of the genius of friendship. And at the end of the day, for me, the issue is under what conditions are people allowed to care for each other. So, I'd like to welcome your questions.